Vallerie, would you mind coming forward? Are you ready, Pete?
I'm ready.
Oh, good. First of all, I want you to use magic wand. She has a wand, but it's invisible, and I found this, and I thought of you immediately. So this is my gift to you, Vallerie. This one glitters. It's battery operated, but be careful because all that glitters is not gold. And you deserve more than I could ever give you, Vallerie. Absolutely. After tonight, when you reveal your plans to us for housing hundreds of homeless people in our midst, you will never have much privacy. You will be forever in demand by dignitaries and the destitute alike. What pleases me no end is the fact that Vallerie knows the conservatives empower the homeless and always have. So I can turn this microphone over to you.
I'm going to get you, Beth. Really? I don't know if you really want me waving this thing, so right now, no telling what might happen. So, can y'all hear me okay? All
Right up to your mouth.
All right, Pete. Gotcha. Let me say that the way that I got here was through Pete Tyson originally, but about a year and a half ago when me and my fiance Scott Clare back there, the handsome guy with the glasses on, and his 80-year-old parents were running around Sarasota, feeding the homeless, clothing them, watering them, giving them everything under the sun, not really knowing what we were doing, just trying to do something. And we ended up trespassing on this piece of property near downtown. Called up the owner of it, tracked him down, asked him for permission to be on it. He ended up donating it to us for $1 a month to be able to do homeless services out of, because there was a camp there. And so when we got that property, Pete came around, a lot of people came around, Janet Hyman, a whole lot of people saw the articles in the paper, and they came to see what was going on with this lady with the big motor home who was kicking up a fuss talking about opening up a tent city. And Pete came out there. He just kept coming around, and he was rather aggravating at first.
I still am.
You know, Pete is a little brash sometimes for me, maybe not for everybody. But a couple times I've had to put him in timeout on Facebook, and, you know, but we've always worked things out. But the thing about Pete is that he opened doors for me. He just invited me one day. We were doing a count of all the homeless to get statistics, and he invited me to an REC meeting down in South County. And at that meeting, I met Julie Brady over here, who's the chairwoman of the outreach committee. And from that point on, the outreach from the REC started coming to my property to see what they could do to participate. They came to do voter outreach, Jan Huff, a lot of them, people in here, and I've kind of blended in, believe it or not, to them and what they were doing. So Pete, much as I bang on you and beat you up, I'm very grateful to you, Pete. I'm very grateful, and if I was allowed to vote, I'd be voting for you.
Well, thank you.
Okay. So, so with that said, so what I'm doing tonight is, like Beth said, you know, like I said, for last year, we spent probably a year. I just brought Trinity up here to Sarasota 3 years ago, and for the first couple of years, you know, we were running around giving everything away. I had just gotten a a settlement for an injury. They offered me, instead of giving me a bunch of surgeries, they offered me $29,000 to just settle it. So I had just gotten that and I moved to Sarasota, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can solve this homeless problem. And, you know, started pouring all of my money into it, running around feeding and clothing everybody, and it wasn't working very well. And then at some point, I managed to started getting into the philosophy and the principles of behind the Republican Party, to be honest with you. And I started learning from some people who were, and that includes Dr. Marbut, who is the expert who was hired to help solve the homeless issue here. I started learning some principles from them as far as enabling, which was giving these people everything under the sun, and not holding them accountable. And it was a nightmare. Nothing good was coming of it. So I started learning how to tie those gifts in with responsibility on their part. Not giving anything away from free, but making requirements and responsibility for everything we did. So we still continue to do a lot of charitable stuff, but whenever we would have giveaways, donations, food services, we started tying in HIV testing, flu shots, voter registration, all different kind of things that once my homeless friends completed certain tasks during an event, then they could receive the rewards. And you know, this proved to be a really great system, and it started instilling in them responsibility and self-worth. And it got to a point where, you know, they were around all day just trying to keep themselves out of trouble and participate and see what they could do out on our 4-acre property. So this brings us around to the tent city, which, you know, I tried to do on my property. City, of course, came and shut me down. The homeless moved off my property over to city property right next door, operated their own tent city, until a 71-year-old woman was sexually attacked back there. And some of us kind of threatened to take action against the city because they refused to provide security back there, but yet they would allow everyone to live there. They would allow me to do it on my property with order, but they would allow it to go on their property with no security, no environmental services, no nothing. So the city did shut the camp down. And when they shut the camp down, we were able to get the other agencies to participate and assist us with moving the people out into housing, and it really helped, you know, that they shut the camp down. So that put us in a position of, okay, what are we going to do with 4 acres of land, because there's no way under the sun we can put a shelter here, we can put a residential system here. What can we do here? And we literally had a lot of talks with the city, with zoning, with code enforcement, and learned the things we could do there. And so the zoning for this 4-acre property is ILW, which is industrial light warehousing. And under that zone, there's 5 pages of uses. They're all industrial related, they're all business related. So I started tailoring a project to what would work on that property that was an already permitted use. And that's where Dr. Jill comes in. She's over here being rather quiet. Dr. Jill was my college president down in the Keys. When Beth was saying that I moved back down there several years ago, I did. I was living up here in Central Florida, and I found out that my college that I had went to as a young girl when I was living down there had hired this extraordinary woman to come in and change the direction of Key West. So I left Central Florida, went down there, and went to school for a couple of years. And I was under Dr. Jill. I was a student worker, and I got to know her very well. So that was 5-6 years ago, and it's come around that Dr. Jill is living 50 miles up the road from me, out of the blue, and doesn't have a job yet. So, back in the Keys a long time ago, I had said to her, one day me and you are going to create a world-class school. We're going to create a world-class facility. And she just kind of looked at me like, you're really crazy now. Really. And so I've been cooking this whole little project up that I've spent 2 weeks and 2 meltdowns working on until tonight when we all came in with our laptops to hook up to the projector system. I finally got a new laptop, and it's too new to work with the projector system. It doesn't have the little blue cable thing on it. So we can't show all the great pictures that we were going to show of what we're planning to do. But what we can do is talk about it. And I would like to introduce a couple of people who are here. And first would be Wayne Appleby. This is Wayne at the back of the room. Wayne is the new Sarasota County Director of Homelessness. He's our guide in Sarasota from this point. He has been even before he got in this position. But Wayne is very crucial to what I'm doing and to the future of our situation here. And then of course you have Dr. Jill over here. Then we have the former vice provost of our college down there as well, Gary Martin. He's sitting over here in the back. And they're key to what we're doing, because what we're doing is a post-secondary institution that it's actually going to be called the Retraining and Empowerment Center. And we're going to be bringing in certifications, classes, incubating small businesses, and so these two are crucial to making that process appropriate through the state. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through a couple points on the, start with the living, Dr. Joe. Okay, so beyond the 4-acre property that we have, a lot of you have been there when we had our community carnival. A lot of people from here came down and participated in that, and I thank you very much. Along with that 4-acre property, the owner of that property, his name is Rodney Desberg. He also owns the Cabana Inn. And there's another property. Hi there, Alex.
Hi, I just wanted to come and see.
Thank you for coming. This is Alexander Coe. I'm sorry I didn't recognize any candidates in the room. Of course, well, I've already given Pete the props. Alexandra is running for office, and so is Steve McAllister back there. Beth, there's your Blue Monkey candidate. He missed the forum. I think he wants to say a word to y'all tonight. Are there any other candidates in here? Because that's, okay. So, along with the Cabana and our 4-acre property, there's a property that just literally fell out of the sky into Trinity's lap a couple of weeks ago, and that is the former Days Inn on North Tamiami Trail, right up by the new Goodwill. A gentleman named Harvey Vengroff brought that. Harvey owns about 1,500 apartment units and houses in Sarasota, and he just out of the blue went, well, he did it not quite out of the blue. He and his wife they're multimillionaires, and they had made a decision to move to Belize, liquidate their holdings, and after urging and prompting of the homeless situation here and the need for affordable housing, they decided to try to make a difference. So they purchased this 117 unit Days Inn up here, and their intention is to turn it into efficiency units, on which they're working on. And they offer Trinity the ability to actually have a functional workspace and be on site there and offer supportive services. And so we've formed a partnership with Harvey Vengroff as well as Rodney Desberg. So what we have is we have the Cabana Inn, former Days Inn, which is now called Oak Ridge Apartments, and we have our 4-acre property over here off North Washington. So the vision is, at the Cabana, for the last year and a half or so, I've already been housing small families and disabled people. Well, now there's such a need for veteran housing, and there's so many resources directed at vets right now. Like in the last 2 months, I believe the city case manager alone, Calvin Harris, has assessed almost 40 vets and gotten them into housing. So what I'm looking at is the unmet need for veteran housing, and Rodney is willing to allow Trinity to utilize the Cabana as housing for veterans and people with disabilities, particularly because it's so close to the hospital. So that is the intention for the Cabana. And then Harvey's Oak Ridge Apartments, he's renting these units out. We've already got 60 of them full in 2 weeks. It's 117 total. So these units are $575 a month, and that includes everything. Like I said, they filled up right away. And the clients that we have there, or the residents that we have there, are really mostly single moms and very small families. So in the meantime, we still have all of our homeless friends, most of the homeless people who I've been dealing with. And you know, I have a count of over 700 homeless men and women that I've had a touch with or had contact with or gave services to in the last year. 700. Out of those 700, we have done supportive services and aftercare and gotten into housing 75 individuals and families with children. So out of 700 touches in a year, I think the numbers are going up. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that Wayne may have a perspective on that. But you all see what the situation is. It's bad when you have business leaders and people and our homeless people, you know, having the conflicts that are going on. It's downtown, and you know the misery that they're experiencing where they're at. They need another option. And let's look at the options, Dr. Shaw. That's the center. Keep going. Go to Erna.
Can you all hear Vallerie?
You can take the mic off, can't you? You can hold it.
Yeah.
Hold the mic and then you can walk over there.
Okay, so what we're talking about doing at the property is, okay, we have 4 schools, colleges, universities that are willing to partner with us. First of all, we have one school system willing to donate 4 classroom modular units to our location. We have a college that's willing to donate 20 computer units and totally deck out a computer office building in there. We have another university who is interested in connecting with us on doing solar panel assembly. We've been talking with them. So we're building these partnerships with some of the colleges and universities. And then we're working with Career Source, the Workforce Center, and Sarasota County Technical Institute to try to bring in certifications so that, you know, it's not a model that's all the way together. But the idea of it is that we can provide the training that is needed in Sarasota right now, which it looks like the highest need for that is going to be office training, building maintenance, masonry, and HVAC. This is what the surveys and the research is showing. So we're trying to create a model, and like I said, I don't have it all together, but a model where people, you know, people who want to be empowered, who want to have some training, who don't meet the income gap where they're not, you know, there's so many people here who can't afford to live here. You know, I think probably 50% of the homeless who we're working with have benefits. They have Social Security, they have veterans benefits, they have, they have some income, but they can't afford to actually pay the rent. So, not only are we trying to empower people with skills to keep them busy, to get a job, or, to move forward with education, but skills that will allow them to work and be able to just live in a home instead of living in the tents and the places that they're living out, and that's what they're doing. So Dr. Jill, go to the businesses. Okay, so we have 10 businesses there are 10 small businesses people are operating out of their homes and out of small areas. And they've all asked if they could be a part of a small business incubation system. And so what the idea is to allow these businesses to come in. Like, I'll give you some examples of them. We have Lawns by Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins hires a lot of our homeless people on a regular basis, puts them to work, and then, they're still homeless. He's not able to employ them all the time. He's one of the people who wants to incubate his business, train people how to do the job properly, have a pool of people to work for him, and put people to work. We have Doggy Treats by Jenny. Doggy Treats by Jenny is an organic dog food treat and an organic bird treat that Jenny makes out of her house. This is Jenny Hyman. She's one of our volunteers. Jenny is so busy making these treats, sending them all over the country, she doesn't, she needs space to expand. So we have 10 businesses at least that are looking for a pool of workers, looking for a place to incubate, and needing to expand. So, this is a part of what I'm trying to bring into the sanctuary. Let me see, go to the next one. No, one more down. Yeah. Okay, so I have this great rendering, which I'm so sorry I can't show you. Like I said, we can't get the screen up. But it's a description of what we're planning to do out there, which basically starts off with the 4 classroom modules. It includes a hydroponic garden system. It includes an amphitheater / agricultural system, and a small cafe. And then in the front of where we're at, there's a building there